On today's show, we'll take a look at Jeffrey Epstein's 18-month prison sentence and the perks and special treatment he received during this time. We'll also talk about the ongoing investigation into his actions, learn more disturbing information from victim Virginia Roberts, and get into the details about Little St. James Island and who and what might have happened there. Finally, an arrest and a death. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought, if I could interrupt real quick before you guys get started, and I just had a few things to say. I've never been on an airplane before. I don't know what an island is. And I don't know anyone named Jeffrey, and I have definitely never seen an egg dick in my entire life. All right, carry on, fellas. This is Necronomipod.
Billionaire businessman Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in New York Saturday on federal charges related to sex trafficking. The 66-year-old hedge fund manager has long been accused of sexually abusing underage girls. In 2007, he pleaded guilty to 2 prostitution counts in Florida as part of a controversial deal to avoid federal charges. He was sentenced to 13 months in jail. Former Miami U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta handled that deal. Acosta is now Secretary of the U.S. Labor Department. In February, the White House said it was looking into the handling of that case, and a federal judge is weighing whether to invalidate the agreement. Epstein once counted President Trump and former President Clinton among his friends. He has a bond hearing scheduled for Monday.
Welcome to episode 89 on Jeffrey Epstein. We're still here covering this fucko, and then we're going to ride off into the sunset and never be heard from again.
I think we know way more than about Jeffrey Epstein than we ever thought was possible.
How many lives do you think we've ruined now where all of our listeners, whenever they see a hard-boiled egg, are now just going to think of old egg dick? Next time you go to like just mow into a hard-boiled egg, just think about, could be Epstein's penis. You never know.
I think I do that now.
When you have your daily hard-boiled egg.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we're back here for, I think this has been the month of Epstein, although we've crossed over now. We've left April. We're into May.
Yeah.
The last one was in May, too. So I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Wasn't part 3? Did that come out? When did that come out? What day is today?
That came out
May 2nd.
Yeah. So here
Boom.
we are.
I have this cool thing called the calendar that gives you all that information.
Yeah.
It's fucking great.
I've lost touch, all sense of our time when it came to Epstein. So, all right. Well, we're back again. I can't remember if we ever covered this. I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm sure we've talked about this at some point because we've talked all things food at some point in time. What is the most overrated kind of food, in your opinion?
we did talk about this.
I think someone asked us once, but I don't remember.
My answer's still the same as last time we talked about it.
You remember your answer? That's good.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Lasagna.
Okay, but I meant like
that's right.
I meant like type of food, that like Italian. Or like, for example, I know Dave isn't, I don't know if this is his answer, but I know he's not huge on Mexican food. So I don't know if like that's...
Oh, that's my answer for sure. I took a lot of shit on it last time. I didn't say it was terrible. I just said it was overrated.
We've already talked about
this. Fuck off.
Then we don't even have to get into this then. Fuck them. They can go back and find it in the archives. On that, whatever that episode was, we did it. Yeah.
What else you got for us?
That was it.
Oh, okay.
We got part 4 to get through, so let's just dive on in then. Catch you on the other side.
So where we left off on part 3, Police Chief Michael Ryder and Detective Joe Riccari were at a complete loss for what to do in the case against Epstein. They had more than enough evidence to put him away for life, but the state prosecutor backtracked on pursuing the case. Ryder requested the FBI assist further, and the FBI found a lot more damning allegations and credible witnesses and victims. Even with the FBI's investigation on top of everything Ryder and Riccari found, federal prosecutor of the Southern District of Florida, Alex Acosta, didn't think that federal charges were warranted.
I mean, really, did he actually do anything? Come on, there's no evidence of that.
Without victims being notified, Epstein was allowed to sign a non-prosecution agreement that allowed him to plead guilty to 1 count of prostitution and 1 count of procuring a minor for prostitution. There was no mention of any of the victims that Ryder and Riccari had put into their probable cause affidavit. It only mentioned one, and that was Mary. She was 14 at the time that happened, and it only said that she was a prostitute. which, like we said last week, is not a real thing. There's no such thing as an underage prostitute. It's child sex trafficking. Another aspect of that non-prosecution agreement that we talked about was that Sarah Kellen and Nadia Marcinkova had immunity from any charges being brought against them. And this is something that I didn't include last week, and I didn't actually know. The wording says, and quote, all potential co-conspirators. So anybody that could potentially have had something to do with this.
You know, this guy had something on a lot of high-placed government people to make that kind of agreement happen. All potential co-conspirators. Right. Who gets a deal like that?
Well, and that's probably why Ryder and Ricari were told to back off right away. Like, hey, you're getting into stuff that you don't need to get into. Let it go.
Yeah, whoever the Florida official, right, told him to back off.
Yeah.
The unnamed Florida official.
The one that he didn't say the name of.
Yeah.
The one who's probably got pictures of his cock in places where it doesn't need to be. Is like, hey, back off, pallies.
I think there's lots of pictures of lots of cocks in lots of places that they shouldn't be.
No, Dave, that was just, I was texting you pictures of those places in my house where I put a hard-boiled egg. It wasn't a cock, it was an egg. I like to sometimes take, some artistic pictures of hard-boiled eggs in random places.
Oh, it was I do. It was artistic, all right.
Yeah. Something wrong with putting a hard-boiled egg between your butt cheeks. It's art.
Try a soft-boiled one. That takes talent.
All right. Stay tuned to our next Instagram live video.
So that immunity effectively shut down any further investigation into Epstein, like just completely killed this. And on June 30th, 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 18 months in prison and would have to register as a sex offender. And none of the victims were notified about this. This was done in complete secret.
It's wild.
They did it. They didn't even announce a court date at all. He just showed up, walked in the back door of the court, did his deal and left. So
quite protected.
Rich people inhabit a completely different world, as we've discussed many times in the past.
I feel like now that I've read everything, I finished the book, I read everything. Epstein's even above rich people in how he was treated. Like wealthy people don't even get treated this good. Like it's insane.
Probably because of what he had on people.
Oh yeah,
like
it's rich people plus blackmail.
Yeah, rich and blackmail, the ultimate power trip.
In Florida, convicted sex offenders are sent to state prison. But in Epstein's case, he was sent to the Palm Beach County Jail and given a private wing of the jail just to himself.
Ridiculous.
He was given work release, which is something that convicted sex offenders don't get, but Epstein got it. He was allowed to leave jail for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and go wherever he wanted, basically. He could go to his house or his office, really whatever he wanted to do.
He's got his wing of this jail. Meanwhile, there's 9 guys to a bunk and all the other cells around.
Yeah.
Because they weren't rich and probably weren't white and whatever else. This guy gets a fucking wing and in and out privileges.
Yeah, right.
When he did return home, sometimes he was accompanied by a deputy, which we'll get into that setup in a minute. But these deputies would have seen at the house Sarah Kellen, Nadia Marcinkova, and now Jean-Luc Brunel, who, if we remember, Brunel is the one that is the modeling.
Sending him over from Europe, right?
Yeah.
Is he the one that sent the triplets?
I don't think he was the one that was behind the triplets.
Twins.
They were triplets.
Okay.
He's the one that there's the text message proof of with the young girl and holding up the sign or letter that says to Jeffrey from Jean.
Come on, Jean-Luc. Be better.
I don't think there's much. I was reading about that guy more in detail. He's quite the piece of work.
Is he still around? Still kicking?
Yeah.
Right.
He's like in his 70s or early 80s.
All right, we'll be careful and be nice.
Can we get him on the show? You want to interview him?
No, I actually wouldn't like talking to him.
Okay.
It's pretty gross individual.
Ian would just interview him like Michael Scott talking to Toby. Why do you choose to be the way that
you are? Like when he goes, "Who do you think you are?" He's like, "I'm Toby." Brunel was now living at Epstein's house. And like we just talked about, we know without a doubt, Brunel was trafficking young girls for Epstein, so Epstein is just allowed to go back home and hang out with all his friends that help him traffic.
It's not right.
Agreed.
Doesn't seem right.
I've literally been uncomfortable for 4 straight weeks. Like, there's no hope in sight. This is what it is.
John Wayne would not have allowed this to happen.
You think, though?
Look here, pedo pilgrim. John Wayne's America. Child fuckers go to the gallows.
John Wayne, anti-pedophilia.
Exactly. Anti-communist, anti-pedo. Well, anti-minority, too, but that's another story.
Also, during this work release, Epstein was allowed to use his own driver to drive him around to his office or wherever he was going. So he had those deputies with him, but they were like kind of just trailing behind him. Yeah, like not doing much.
More like fucking Secret Service than they are, his, prison guards.
Yeah, right.
Like walking around looking like you have your own security detail. No, they're fucking watching you because you're a creep stain. Or they're supposed to be.
When Epstein was actually at jail, his cell door was left unlocked. So no 8 p.m. lights out in a locked cell. He was given full access to the attorney inmate meeting room, where he set up an office with a TV that he could use at any time.
For the 4 hours a week he was there.
It's like the scene in Goodfellas where they're cooking dinner and...
comes in with bottles of wine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Actually, it seems nicer because there was just 4 guys in one room.
That's true.
He
got
had
his
a
own
wing.
room.
He had a wing. Paulie and... who are the older guys? Vinny? Is there an old Vinny? I can't remember.
The key is you got to slice the garlic thin so it dissolves in the olive oil.
And not too many onions. Too many onions.
Easy on the onions.
Yeah. Henry's out selling pills. I'd talk about. Could we just do a show on that movie? Right. I'll talk about that whole damn movie.
This next bit here seems like an extreme conflict of interest, but while Epstein was serving the 18-month sentence, he paid the jail $128,000 for extra things he needed, including he paid the overtime for the deputies that we just brought up. That doesn't seem right.
What the fuck? I mean, the commissary's expensive, I guess. A box of macaroni and cheese.
Ramen. So he's literally paying the guys who are supposed to be watching him.
He's got to register as a sex offender when he's done with this, but he's paying their...
But literally his prison guards are in his pocket.
He's paying all their overtime.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing on his private island, they don't keep track of registered sex offenders. So it doesn't really matter,
Yeah.
Practically speaking.
If he had written that law and then he's like, fuck, why did I do that? Can we buy an island?
I mean, I would buy an island.
We're going to get into it in a little bit. He didn't pay that much for an island. I want cool down.
But that's also
island.
like 98 money, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Still, we can find something.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Left over from like a nuclear testing site. No big deal. It'll just be ours.
One of those Pacific atolls where the French used to test their nuclear bombs.
No problem. I'll go first. Test it out.
I was watching that Skinwalker Ranch show last night on History Channel.
How is that?
I like it. It's a little cheesy, but but that guy, he's got Epstein money. The guy that owns Skinwalker Ranch. Like, that's what I would be doing if I had that money.
But you'd be putting it to good use, not fucking kids. You'd be buying
Skinwalker
ranches,
Ranch.
where you might see some aliens. And
he'd be in a fucking portal somewhere going to another land.
If you're
another
that rich,
world, another dimension.
If that rich, you just make your own dimension, right? And when you're that rich, when you're stupid, fuck you rich, you just make your own dimension. I mean, essentially, they're living in their own worlds anyways, right? Why not live in your own dimension? Like, no, I don't acknowledge this in my dimension.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
Maybe one of us could start dating Melinda Gates, and we can get some of that money.
I nominate you.
I was thinking you.
Wow. We'll see. I'll give her one date. One date. We'll see.
Is that enough to get half of her fortune, you think? One night with Mike? Can you bring back College Mike and give her one night with College Mike to secure the Gates fortune?
That back ain't what it used to be. I don't know if College might come back. Now there's hips popping, cramps. It's just a whole thing. It's a to-do.
Happens to the best of them.
It's a to-do. So where were we? Before I took us off like I-71 and started trailing down some dark road.
Those deputies that monitored Epstein's office, and he's paying for their overtime. They were more like butlers than anything else. They were required to wear suits and check in visitors for Epstein, who, of course, was allowed to have visitors whenever he wanted. Like, they were just supposed to welcome people in suits. Like, I was thinking about this when I was writing this part out. I'm like, I can't imagine. You know, those cops were not thrilled with that at all, having to do that.
Unless they were getting cash payments, you know.
That's true. He was paying their overtime.
And who knows how much else? Probably just giving them tips, you know, like Henry Hill style when he's selling those pills and just putting $20 bills in everyone's pocket or $100 bills. I'm sure that was going on.
Allegedly.
He was taking care of everybody. I'm talking about the movie Goodfellas. The book Wise Guy, though, is really good.
On top of Epstein just being allowed to have visitors whenever he wanted, after he served his time, the sheriff's office destroyed all the visitor logs of who was coming to see Epstein. They said it was due to their records retention program, but no other visitor logs were destroyed for that time period. Only Epstein's.
What the fuck is going on here?
Okay, cool.
On July 22nd, 2009, Epstein was released from jail 5 months early and had to register as a level 3 sex offender, which is the highest, and be on probation until August of 2010. He really fought that too.
Probation?
No, the sex offender, trying to not have that happen. But New York wasn't budging on it.
What did New York have to do with it?
Because his sentence said everywhere that he had a residence.
Which that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So New Mexico, he had that ranch there and all that stuff. Yeah.
That ranch is fucking cool, by the way.
I've actually never seen pictures of it.
Man, it's unbelievable.
Let's buy it.
Didn't they showed it at the beginning of that documentary, didn't they? Like the overhead drone shot of that ranch out there?
Maybe.
Super cool.
I'll make an offer tomorrow. I'll write one up. You guys see what you think.
If you make Melinda calm, maybe she'll take care of that.
Dave, I assure you that is not the problem.
That probation included that he check in every 90 days. However, he never checked in once with any law enforcement agency, whether it be Florida, New York, New Mexico, which is a felony, and you would be thrown back in jail, but there were no repercussions for this.
Oh, that's weird.
Around this time, Police Chief Ryder is on record saying that this case was, quote, the worst failure of the criminal justice system in modern times.
Even worse than Casey Anthony being falsely accused of murder.
What time? That was that this time? Was that after this? When was the timeline on that?
Casey?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Got me. I don't
can't
We'll ask you in the trivia show sometime in the future.
It's not like we did 2 parts on it or anything.
I'm trying to bring Casey bit back. Doesn't work anymore. Yeah, fucking retire.
You broke kayfabe
God
on that
damn
one.
it.
You broke kayfabe on that one and gave your true feelings.
Yeah, that's true.
In August of 2009, Palm Beach Police Captain George Frick came across Epstein walking in the middle of the afternoon, which was at a time when he was supposed to be at work. We haven't brought up Officer Frick, but he's just as good of a member of law enforcement as Ryder and Ricari. Frick was involved in the investigation into Epstein from the beginning, and he did a lot of the interviews with victims. So Frick contacted Epstein's parole officer, but he was told that it was all right. Epstein is allowed to go out and exercise.
It's a free world, right?
Along with that exercise, Epstein was allowed to make numerous trips on his private jet to New York and his private island in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Unreal.
I looked it up. Casey Anthony was found not guilty in July of 2011. So they were accurate up until that point. That still could have
changed a year later.
Casey Anthony was not a part of this discussion at the time. There's so many listeners like, you motherfuckers are screaming 2011 into their, whatever devices, smartphones.
A couple months later, in September of 2009, the details of the non-prosecution agreement were made public. And since these victims were completely thrown away by the justice system, their only recourse left was to file civil suits against Epstein, to which he settled them all out of court. In part 1, we briefly brought up a guy named Alfredo Rodriguez, who was Epstein's house manager in Palm Beach from 2004 to 2005. When everything went down, Rodriguez stole what has become known as Epstein's Little Black Book. In November of 2009, Rodriguez was out of a job looking for money when he attempted to sell the book to an undercover FBI agent for $50,000. Rodriguez exchanged the book for the money with the agent, started counting the money, and that was it. He was now in FBI custody.
What's the big deal? Why is it illegal to sell a book?
Well, this book in particular, like he should have probably turned that over
because it was evidence. That's the deal.
Yeah, that book was filled with all kinds of stuff.
Fair enough.
Rape a bunch of girls, walk free, hold a little black book. Prison!
That's right.
Yeah, I know he said that he took it as insurance because he knew things and he thought for sure he was going to end up dead.
I would agree.
From the FBI notes, it said, quote,
Rodriguez was then detained for obstruction of official proceedings, Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1512, and questioned. After Miranda warnings were administered by agents, Rodriguez waived his rights and signed a written waiver of those rights. Rodriguez admitted that he had the documents and book in his possession and had never turned them over to local law enforcement or the FBI. In addition, Rodriguez advised he had witnessed nude girls who he believed were underage at the pool area of his former employer's home, knew that his former employer was engaging in sexual contact with underage girls, and had viewed pornographic images of underage girls on computers in his employer's home. Rodriguez was then released from custody for further investigation. He was then sentenced to 50,000 years in prison.
Yeah, because they arrested him. You know, they kept this investigation open and they arrested him again for it. And on June 18th, 2010, he was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for corruptly concealing records.
So we got the same sentence.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Except he was not put in a county jail, in a wing for 2 hours a week, allowed to exercise, had his own security detail.
What do they say in Office Space? Put me in federal pound me in the ass prison. He wasn't in the county jail.
Oh, that movie is so fucking funny. I haven't seen that in a long time. Can we do an episode on that one too?
Oh, yeah.
I want to do Goodfellas. I want to do Office Space. Let's just do a podcast on movies.
In April of 2010, as part of all of those civil lawsuits, Epstein's flight records were obtained. And those had a whole list of people that had been hanging out with Epstein and flying on his private jet. And I figure this is probably the best spot to get into the island. And it's worth noting as we go forward with the island stuff, those flight logs don't necessarily mean people went to the island. Not everybody on there went to the island.
Or even flew on a plane, because Bill Clinton's on those logs and he's just certified that he had never been on an airplane.
He doesn't even know what an island is.
Something.
How could you go to something if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what a clit is. I've never been there.
Well, Mike, I know what a clit is, you motherfucker.
Teach me, Mr. President.
The island named Little St. James Island sits between the larger St. Thomas and St. John Islands in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Epstein bought the island in 1998 for $7.9 million and took to calling it Little St. Jeff's Island, which is very creepy. Dude.
Fucking weirdo.
Yeah, especially in the context of what this whole story is about.
Should have called it Little Sunny Side Up Island.
There you go.
Because it's sunny because it's an island and he has an egg.
Yeah.
Just sunny side up. Just sunny side up. Call it an eggland.
An eggland.
Once he had ownership, Epstein put in huge palm trees, multiple buildings, and a helicopter pad. There aren't a ton of details about specific rooms or things like that on the island, but some former employees of Epstein's have spoken out about their experience. According to an anonymous employee, Epstein had 2 offices in the main house of the island, and no one was allowed in those office spaces besides one maid. This employee said that they had been told Epstein kept a lot of locked security boxes in these offices. The IT guy that worked on the island said that he saw Bill Clinton.
Lies. All lies.
And also said that the walls were covered with pictures of nude young girls, probably underage, which is pretty much the same as the Palm Beach mansion.
And the New York, the Manhattan mansion.
Yeah.
And probably every other fucking mansion is asshole has.
The ranch in New Mexico.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to everyone once pictures of the island started hitting the media was a huge temple that's white with blue stripes, and it has a big gold dome on top of it.
Jesus.
Have you seen pictures of this thing?
I have not, no.
It's odd looking. It's like everything looks like this luxurious, this really, really nice island, and then there's just this weird church looking temple.
I'm going to look this up now.
Was this an uninhabited island that he kind of
It was like
overhauled? And
it was owned by some company, something like LLC or whatever owned it,
right?
Something like that. And then
That is obnoxious.
isn't it weird?
I make it big so I can see it.
Well, I ignore my Oilers game in the corner.
What the hell? That's like something you see like in Saudi Arabia in the desert or something.
Yeah.
In Mecca, on your Mecca pilgrimage. Interesting.
I noticed the dome is almost egg-shaped. Just saying.
Do you think Epstein painted his cock for Easter?
Oh yeah,
Like dipping Easter eggs?
I'm not going to take that bait. There were some terrible jokes to be made.
I got a hold of the ringtone for the phone on the island. Did you ever hear that?
The incredible edible egg.
Is that too dated? You guys remember that commercial?
I remember I don't know. Remember what is it for? I remember the jingle.
Just selling eggs. The Egg Council or whatever. United Egg Farmers of America. People that sell eggs.
So that was the ringtone or the doorbell or
Yeah, that's how the phone rang.
every day.
Doorbell too.
Every day at noon, the dome temple, the bell would ring that.
No one really knows what the purpose of this temple was. Former workers described it as a music room with special acoustics, and it had a grand piano inside for Epstein to play. And then other workers said it was a gym. So who knows what it was for.
Yeah. I have an idea what it was for. That's just me, though.
Another odd detail about the temple is that it has a huge wooden door that has a massive locking bar on the outside, which would make you think that it was meant to lock someone or something inside, not lock people out. People go down the rabbit hole with this, like theorizing that there could be some elevator in there to this underground area for abusing underage girls. I think it was Vox did an interview with somebody regarding this conspiracy theory, like someone that builds things on island that's like a credible human being. Said that it's possible to do something like that, but there's no records of any construction like that going on. So, I mean, obviously Epstein does whatever the fuck he wants, so he could probably do something like that.
Doesn't seem easy, though, on an island. You can't go down that far and talking about underground bunkers and stuff. I mean, they had him in a lot of James Bond movies, but, it seems a little ridiculous.
I think people, especially people prone to conspiratorial type thinking and with certain things, they let their mind wander into these wild scenarios of this underground bunker with all these teenage girls, when from victims' accounts, it was pretty much just out in the wide open. The IT guy that was there, because Epstein had a full cell phone tower on this island, so he always had this guy there doing maintenance on it and stuff. He's gone on record saying multiple times that he saw naked girls with older men at the pool area, and he knew damn well that they were not 18 or older.
He's like, I don't need a fucking bunker. I do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Even when I get caught, I go to jail and I do whatever I want. So what do I need to spend money in a bunker for?
And the island is tiny. Like, it's smaller than I expected. I was looking up pictures of it. Like, it's just like a big property, but it's an island.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know where I was going with that, other than it's smaller than I expected. 7.95 million is probably a pretty good price for that.
It seems like when you're doing that kind of stuff, you might want to get an island that's not part of U.S. territory and maybe that doesn't have an extradition treaty. Maybe he could have.
Dave, we don't know what the market was like at that time. I mean, there's nothing available. He bought what he bought. You're going to fucking lecture Epstein on real estate. Come on.
Just saying, if I was doing these sort of things, I might want to be out of reach of the U.S. jurisdiction. That's all.
Maybe go find one of those remote, blown up islands over in the Pacific that
atolls.
nobody's ever going to want to go look at.
With a radiation poisoning the second you step on the island.
According to court documents regarding the island, girls as young as 12 years old would be flown out to St. Thomas And then from there, taken on to the Lady Ghislaine to the island. And the Lady Ghislaine is the yacht that her dad bought her back in the 80s.
Fucking 12 years old.
Yeah,
So gross.
I found online the police interview things with the 12-year-old triplets from Paris. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? We've got graphic enough on this. This is not
awful.
No sense in throwing in 12-year-old girls.
I agree. It serves no purpose to talk about that.
Getting to the flight logs, there's a ton of big people on this. But like we were just talking about conspiracy people getting all crazy with the underground bunker stuff. There were fake flight logs posted online that conspiracy people, especially QAnon people, have ran wild with.
Oh, well, everything QAnon believes is 100% accurate, so maybe they're onto something.
Tom Hanks was on that list.
All right, wait a minute.
Mike's not going to stand for this, Ian. You lit a fuse.
As soon as I read it, I'm like, here we go.
No. That is absurd.
He wasn't really on the...
Of course. Tom Hanks is one of the nicest human beings in the world. I've read this in People magazine year after year after year.
Mike, come on. A lot of people think you sound like Tom Hanks. Can you do a reading and repeat something like, bring me a 12-year-old Jeffrey, and let's see if it sounds plausible.
I will not give you the satisfaction of having that sound clip. I have never heard that until doing this podcast when we started 2019. So by then I was, 33 years old. I had never once heard in my life that I sounded like Tom Hanks. Probably because people see me, when you isolate just a voice, it's different. Sure. But then we've had 2 or 3, more than that. We've had multiple people say it started with I sounded like fucking Woody from Toy Story.
Right.
Which is Tom Hanks.
Yeah, which is Tom Hanks. And then it was, but that's what I mean. Like they would just say, oh, he sounds just like Woody. There's a snake in my boot. Whatever he says. And then it just grew into sounds like Tom Hanks. I mean, I don't think Tom Hanks has the greatest voice. And I think my voice is atrocious. But if I'm going to be compared to anybody, give me Tom Hanks.
Sure.
Yeah, Tom Hanks was on that list, the fake list, the QAnon list, Oprah.
Really?
All the...
I have never been told I sound like Oprah.
Yeah, no.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Everybody gets a car.
Oh, now we need to do a movie podcast on The Burbs also. Put that on the list. Goodfellas, Office Space, The Burbs. We're getting quite an itinerary.
That's a good one. That's a good show there, buddy.
So the actual logs, there's still some really big names on there. And the biggest name is Bill Clinton.
What?
Clinton shows up 12 times in those logs with some stuff that makes your mind wander, like even makes my mind wander. For example, a lot of those trips say stuff like Bill Clinton, Secret Service, Jeffrey Epstein, and then just female. And whoever the female was, they're given a number based on how many of those unnamed females were on the flight. So some of them say like, they have a 1, 2, 3 next to their name.
Awful. I'll tell you who wasn't female. It wasn't Hillary. I left her at home.
Hillary was not on any of those logs. Can't confirm she was not on any of those plane rides.
Boys trip, right?
Oh, boys trip.
Well, Sarah Kellen was on a bunch of those.
Oh, NASCAR trip.
Well, she was employed. She had to make sure that a schedule was working.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's it.
I don't want to talk about a fuck schedule when it comes to pedophilia.
Bill Clinton says that he never went to Epstein's Island and only flew on the jet for that 2002 AIDS charity in Africa and 3 other times, but that was all for Clinton Foundation charities.
I mean, depends on your definition of never, doesn't it, Ian?
So yeah, he admits to 4. He admits to 4 times, but the other, what would that be, 8? That's just not accurate. That even though it says Secret Service and stuff, it just didn't happen.
I mean, with new math, it depends on what you mean by 8. It could mean different things.
Virginia Roberts, who we've read some of her court documents, and we'll be talking about her a lot in this episode later. She says that she 100% saw Bill Clinton on the island, but never saw him doing anything illegal or acting inappropriate. It was just like he was there eating lunch is when she saw him. Epstein's land manager on the island, who is the IT guy that was doing all the cell phone tower stuff. He also said he saw Bill Clinton on the island, but again, nothing inappropriate. He was just his recollection of it. He's in that documentary. He was talking. He's like, yeah, I was doing some work and looked over, and there's Bill Clinton sitting there eating lunch. He was like, huh, yeah, all right, there's Bill Clinton.
It is not. It is not illegal to eat lunch.
No, it's not, Mike. I agree.
But according to Bill Clinton, that never happened. None of that.
Also true.
I guess it depends on your definition of lunch is. And what your concept of geography is.
I've never been out of Arkansas. I don't know what you're talking about. President of what?
Naomi Campbell flew on Epstein's jet 4 times, but said that she didn't know what Epstein was up to. And she said that she was introduced to him by an ex-boyfriend. Virginia Roberts says that Naomi Campbell witnessed abuse of underage girls and was on the island multiple times. To corroborate Virginia's claims to some degree, there are photos of her and Naomi Campbell in the same room.
That's disappointing. I like Naomi Campbell. That's a good-looking woman there.
I would have to pull an Ian in Google. I don't think I know who that is.
I know who she is.
What was she in?
She's a model.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
She's no Giselle Brady, so I'll pass.
No, that's your opinion.
Prince Andrew, Duke of York, shows up on the flight logs only one time, which I would venture to say is not accurate at all. But there's a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get into with Prince Andrew in a bit.
I can't wait, Ian.
Gwendolyn Beck, an independent candidate that ran for U.S. House of Representatives in Virginia back in 2014. She's in the flight logs 15 times. She's also photographed together with Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Melania Trump at a party in Mar-a-Lago, which just hit me that Epstein was supposed to be banned.
That's a good point.
But
he's a very inconspicuous guy. Like he could just get around. No one notices.
It was a soft ban. He could come and go as he wants, just like prison.
Depends what your definition of ban is.
That's right.
That joke will know. You can do that joke for everything. Beck denies knowing anything about Epstein's crimes. She has confirmed, though, that she received a couple massages while at Epstein's house, but not. She says, but not by underage girls. So she just knows that.
Oh. She checked their IDs.
Right. She received over $12,000 for her campaign, donated by Epstein, who at the time had already pleaded guilty and was a registered sex offender. So she knew that at least.
Yeah.
Lawrence Summers, an economist from Harvard, the Treasury Secretary during Clinton's administration, and the economic advisor of President Obama. He shows up on those flight logs 5 times. Former President of Colombia, Andre Pastrana, shows up once on the flight logs. This was a flight from Venezuela to Nassau, which is pretty close to Epstein's island.
You ever been in Nassau, Mike? I've been in Nassau before.
I have not.
Nice.
No. Been to St. Lucia. It's the only
I've never
place
been there.
in that area I've ever been. Yeah. All nice. I'm sure it's all
Yeah.
fantastic. Not so sold on Little St. James yet, but, you know.
Maybe someday you'll visit there.
Maybe someday.
Here's a burn for Ryder and Ricari. Joel Pashkow was a member of the Palm Beach Police and Fire Foundation and was chairman of the Atlantic Realty Trust and board of directors for RPS Realty Trust. He was also a member of board of governors of Real Estate Securities Institute and National Realty Committee. So all ties to police and a lot of realty committees that from Epstein's neighborhood that were involved in that stuff. He flew on Epstein's jet 8 times. Tom Pritzker, one of 11 billionaire heirs of the Pritzker family and is CEO of the Pritzker Organization and executive chairman of Hyatt, like the Hyatt hotels.
Big fan of Hyatt's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys are loaded, the Pritzkers. That's big time money.
He only shows up on the flight logs once, but Virginia Roberts in court documents says she was forced by Epstein and Ghislaine to have sex with him. There's a ton more on these logs, but these were the bigger ones that stood out to me. The logs are filled with U.S. and foreign politicians, celebrities, people from academia. Like, I'm looking at all these names. Like, there's some Russian-looking names. I'm like, I'm sure they're someone important.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to pronounce them though. We're gonna leave those out.
Yeah.
Not gonna make my outline.
We'll be right back.
Throughout 2011, there were a ton of court proceedings, mainly civil suits and the victims filing motions to have that plea deal thrown out because none of the victims were notified of that deal and it was kept secret. This would be a 10-part series if we went into all the stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. Fuck yeah, dude.
But we're going to get into just a tiny bit of the emails later, but there is so much email proof that Alex Acosta's office was working with Epstein's lawyers, specifically Alan Dershowitz, in an extremely unprofessional way to keep things secret. Like, there's an email of one of Acosta's assistants, something, saying, well, like, let me look up that law. Let me see if we can do something with that. Like, let me look up.
Unbelievable.
You're looking up the law for the person that's in trouble. Like,
people just get steamrolled in prison. This, like, the justice system in this country, and just to read stuff like this is infuriating.
Yeah.
In September of 2011, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Mara rejected the U.S. Attorney's Office argument that it was under no obligation to notify victims prior to that non-prosecution agreement with Epstein because there were no federal charges filed against him. This was the first and small win for the victims, but there would be a ton of more legal steps to go through. In 2012, Epstein hired a PR firm to kind of rebrand his public image as a, quote, celebrated philanthropist and renowned educational investor. That's what he was publicly being called, like on his website, all that kind of stuff.
How much did he spend for them to come up with that fucking tagline?
I don't know, but that fucking exact wording is on my resume. So
Is that how you just introduce yourself to people?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Mike. I'm a celebrated philanthropist and renowned educational investor.
That's what your business
What
card
can I
says,
do
right?
for you? I turn it around so that at the end, they feel like I'm interviewing them to see if they're good enough for me to help them. That's the key. That's the key to being successful.
What can Mike do for you?
It's on the back of my business card when you flip it around.
Do you pass it out like an American Psycho? The color is bone.
Yeah. Oh, I compete with my business card. That's maybe my favorite scene of that whole movie. When
great.
he gets so fucking upset that someone has a better business card than him.
It's the best.
Episode 4 of our movie podcast. So we're going to be doing Goodfellas, Office Space, The Burbs, and American Psycho.
Man, that's a good day at the theater there, buddy.
Oh, you're telling me.
Epstein also started donating millions of dollars to scientific research and sponsored global conferences on ways to achieve world peace and save the planet. He also funded cancer and educational research projects around the country.
Bad money for good causes. This guy's a fucking pariah just trying to buy himself back into polite society.
Yeah.
And it's working, apparently.
I mean,
and that's what we brought up on part 1 when we kind of just introduced the series, is he literally has his tentacles in every aspect of society.
and what was the quote someone used? He's a genius with no morals.
Yeah,
Something like
no
that.
moral compass.
Yeah, no moral compass. Like
The guy that did 20 years at Tower Financial, is that what it's called? Yeah.
For that Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, that's right.
Epstein carried on with this rebranding, donating, and renovating his island, and presumably sexually abusing underage girls. Then shit hit the fan for him in 2015. Alfredo Rodriguez served his 18-month prison sentence for withholding.
Actually, in jail.
Yes, in federal prison.
what?
But now in 2015, he passed away from cancer. I guess he worked in like asbestos stuff for a long time, and so he passed away from that. Shortly after he passed away, Gawker posted the contents of the Black Book online. The book is 95 pages long with 1,971 names in it.
God damn.
Also known as my college nickname book.
Gawker has since gone away, but a link to it does exist online.
Yeah, because the Hulkster bankrupted him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was really the guy from PayPal.
Peter Thiel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they outed him as
that
being
too,
gay.
yeah. But Hogan won like $100 million judgment, right?
I didn't know the PayPal thing. I just always thought it was the Hogan thing because they released the sex tape, right, with Bubba the Love Sponge's wife, the one where he was cucking Bubba.
Yeah, right.
Set up by Bubba, though.
Yeah.
Bubba was in that,
Yeah.
and then he was just talking all kinds of, his racist rant about Brooks' Dallas Cowboy boyfriend or something like that.
And I can't believe I just ate. I feel like a pig.
I have not watched it, Dave. Apparently you have.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah.
I've read the racial transcript. And
Well,
I was
that
like,
too, yeah.
I don't need to see the little Hulkster on the Hulkster. I don't need to see that 24-inch python, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, the PayPal guy funded pretty much all of Hulk Hogan's legal fees to fight.
But that's what I mean. That happened first, and then he's like, "Well, I'll show you guys," and he funded Hogan, right?
Yeah.
Which ultimately bankrupted him.
Yeah.
So it was because of the Hogan thing, but the PayPal guy was the money behind it all.
Right, because
Okay.
Gawker outed him as being gay publicly.
Right. Outed the PayPal guy, so he had an okay. Why was Gawker so kind of like
Scummy.
aggressive? Like no journalistic integrity, I guess. I mean, with this Epstein thing, okay, like you're kind of rooting for them, but like, I don't know. It just seems odd. Maybe that's when they're out of business now, but
Yeah.
It has a lot of the same names we talked about. Bill Clinton, Chris Tucker's name is in tons of people. What? And tons of girls and young women who were presumably some of Epstein's victims. In January of 2015, Virginia Roberts filed court papers in Florida alleging that she was forced by Epstein and Ghislaine to have sex with Prince Andrew and Alan Dershowitz when she was underage. Before we get to her 2015 filings, Virginia had been doing a lot behind the scenes of everything that we've been talking about. In September of 2002, at the age of 19, Virginia flew to Thailand and attended the International Training Massage School. Ghislaine gave her tickets to travel to Thailand and instructed her to meet with someone to obtain a girl from Thailand to bring back to the United States from Epstein. I'm not 100% clear on if that girl was underage or if this was an of-age person, but regardless, it was a trafficking thing.
Unreal, this guy.
While at the massage school, she met Robert Guthrie, an Australian martial arts trainer, and the two got married quickly after. She contacted Epstein and told him that she would not be returning as planned, and she and her husband started a life and family in Australia, and Virginia broke off contact with Epstein and Ghislaine. In her court filing, she talks about that she saw this as her opportunity to break away from them.
I'm sure.
For 5 years, Virginia and her husband lived a quiet life in Australia with their kids.
And they're fosters.
In 2007, Virginia said that she received a series of phone calls over a 3-day period. The first call was from Ghislaine. Then 1 day later, a call from Epstein. Both of them asked if she had spoken to the authorities. This was followed by a third call from an FBI agent who stated that Virginia had been identified as a victim of Epstein. She resisted speaking at length to the FBI until she was approached again about it in person, and this time it was by the Australian Federal Police.
And I'm sure it's just so traumatic to bring that up again because, you think I go to Australia, I left all this behind me, finally I got rid of these fucks, and, to have it resurface like that, it's probably terrible.
Virginia was part of the civil suits that happened in 2009, but at the time she was known as Jane Doe 102. But when her daughter was born on January 7th, 2010, she got the courage or fire under, or however you want to put it, and publicly spoke out about her experiences with Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Alan Dershowitz.
Which has to be terrifying, to speak out against high-level people like that. You don't know.
Yeah.
You talk about a bullet in the head earlier. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, very important, powerful people.
Yeah, right.
Her first story was published in March of 2011, and it featured a photo of Virginia and Prince Andrew when Virginia was 17 years old. The photo was taken at Ghislaine's home in Belgravia, London, and it shows Prince Andrew with his arm around Virginia and Ghislaine's off to the side. Virginia described being trafficked to Prince Andrew at least 3 times when she was 17. She said that Epstein and Ghislaine took her to Tramp nightclub in London, where she met and danced with Prince Andrew. And then later that night, while going back to Ghislaine's home, Ghislaine told Virginia to, quote, do for Prince Andrew what you do for Epstein. Virginia also said that one of these times she was trafficked to Prince Andrew was an orgy on Epstein's private island that involved her, several underage girls from Eastern Europe, Prince Andrew, and Epstein.
Isn't there some interview with Prince Andrew on this where he's sweating profusely trying to answer these questions? I recall seeing that.
Saying he's never seen her before,
Yeah.
met her before.
Right,
Even
right.
though the picture is right
Yeah.
there.
He could have, though, just had eaten Kung Pao chicken previous to going on camera, like George in Seinfeld when he gets interviewed. And maybe he was sweating because of that.
I mean, anything is possible.
I don't-
Mike. That's a great point.
I'm not a member of the bar. I'm just saying, he might have had some Kung Pao chicken.
That interview did no favors. for
Regardless,
him.
he's clearly lying in the interview.
It's really uncomfortable to even watch it. It's like,
He pulled the Shaggy defense, but no one was buying it.
no. No.
He's like, it depends what your definition of me in that photograph is.
Do photographs really exist when you think about it?
Well, yeah, they do. Right here. Look at this photograph. Every time I do, it makes me laugh.
Once he did that, like once this news broke and then he did that interview and everything, the British press just started roasting Prince Andrew with daily headlines like Prince Andrew and the pedophile are suddenly the talk of New York. And time to show this right royal clown the door.
Boom.
Those smarmy Brits.
There was a ton of them, but those were the 2 that stuck out to me on the list.
I bet the Queen loved that, right?
Yeah, I'm sure. But I was reading about him. There's a lot of other issues to do with him, with people he's dealt with. And he kind of almost seemed like the embarrassment of the royal family. Like
He has that slimy look about him.
yeah, like all kind of shit
Prince
he's been
Andy?
involved in.
Prince Andy? Do you think he's a slime bag?
He just has that look.
He's
He's up to no good.
like a lot of financial shit.
Yeah.
Well, if you were 119th in line, wouldn't you just be like, fuck it? I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I probably would.
Like, I'm just born in a royalty, but I'm never going to achieve anything.
Right.
I'm never going to reach the crown of the throne. Like, fuck it.
Fuck it.
I'm not saying I'd become a pedophile, but I might be a tad bit of a rule breaker.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to justify his actions. Let that be clear. Prince Andy can go fuck himself. But what I'm
Mike's
saying,
setting up a future alibi, I feel like, over here.
what I'm saying is, like, you're that close to the throne, but you will never get it. But you're royalty. Come on.
Yeah.
You're just walking into a pub. I'm the prince. I will drink for free.
Pour me a pint.
Yeah.
Mate.
Pint of your finest ale.
it sounded like he's like the part of a family that everyone's like, motherfucker, like just looks at him all the time.
Yeah.
Like, the
Right.
fuck are you doing now?
Who invited Andy?
After Virginia's story was published, the FBI made contact with her again, this time at the U.S. consulate in Sydney. And it seemed like the ball could be rolling to have Epstein and Ghislaine held accountable for something in this situation. Going back to 2015, here are some of the details from Virginia's court filing.
Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz was around Epstein frequently. Dershowitz was so comfortable with the sex that was going on that on one occasion he observed me in sexual activity with Epstein. I had sexual intercourse with Dershowitz at least 6 times. The first time was when I was about 16, early on in my servitude to Epstein, and it continued until I was 19. I have recently seen Alan Dershowitz on television calling me a liar. He is lying by denying that he had sex with me. The man I've seen on television, described as a former law professor, is the same man that I had sex with at least 6 times. Dershowitz also knows that Epstein had sex with other underage girls and lent me out to other people, but he is lying and denying that. Well, there you have it.
The documentary is really funny with that because Alan Dershowitz is running his mouth and saying like she's never publicly accused me. It's always been in these lawsuits and court filings and stuff. And he's like, I challenge her to publicly say that I did this. And then it cuts to her and she's like, yeah, Alan Dershowitz raped me. It seems like in these past cases that we've talked about where there's like corruption and things, that there's a lot of failing upwards. And there's some more here. In 2017, Alex Acosta was nominated by then President Donald Trump to be the U.S. Secretary of Labor. At his confirmation hearing in 2017, only one person from Congress questioned Acosta regarding his decision to give Epstein that deal. That was Catherine Clark of Massachusetts. Defending himself at the hearing, Acosta said, quote,
facts in this case were presented to a grand jury that actually recommended a charge that carried no jail time at all. At the end of the day, Mr. Epstein went to jail. Epstein was incarcerated. He registered as a sex offender. The world was put on notice that he was a sex offender and the victims received restitution. This is where he put up that meme. So that was a lie.
So that was a fucking lie. It's pretty astounding, you know, watching the video of his confirmation hearing. Just a straight face, no hesitation, saying that Epstein went to jail, did his time.
All right.
Like, the fuck?
Well, the thing for me, though, is like the victims received restitution. You mean when they filed fucking civil suits and you settled out? Like, that's not restitution.
Yeah.
Like,
Good point.
know, that's just like they didn't even know, the deal he had worked out for. So that is a straight up fucking lie.
Yeah.
That part, at least.
Yeah.
When Acosta was brought on as Secretary of Labor by Trump, he told the transitioning team that he had only met with Epstein's lawyers once back when the deal was being negotiated. And that took place in a hotel. That did not take place in any office or anything. That was in a nearby hotel.
Oh, that's weird, huh?
Alan Dershowitz and all of them.
Whatever.
Acosta didn't say who told him this, but that he, quote, was told to back off. Epstein was above his pay grade. I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone.
The implication being he was a CIA asset?
Possibly going back to that passport we talked about in part one.
Cunty McCuntlips. Yeah. That was his passport name.
Or is that all just a cover from like people higher up who Epstein had shit on? That they're just like, no, he's an asset to us.
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah. You'll never know.
Because I'm sure they weren't, people that much higher weren't going to give Acosta any details.
Yeah.
They could have easily told him something like that. On November 28th, 2018, rumors started that Acosta was being considered as a possible successor to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. And the Miami Herald published an investigation detailing Acosta's role in the Epstein case. That story revealed the extent of the collaboration between federal prosecutors and Epstein's attorneys in efforts to keep the victims from learning about that plea deal. Like I said earlier, they had the thing about, oh, let me look up that law. Let me see if there's a law that we can pull that off. But the Herald describes another email from Epstein's attorney after his offsite meeting with Acosta. And this is what the Herald wrote.
Thank you for the commitment you made to me during our October 12th meeting, Lefkowitz wrote in a letter to Acosta after the breakfast meeting in West Palm Beach. He added that he was hopeful that Acosta would abide by a promise to keep the deal confidential. You assured me that our office would not contact any of the identified individuals, potential witnesses, or potential civil claimants and their respective counsel in this matter, Lefkowitz wrote.
The Herald also pointed out certain aspects of Acosta's non-prosecution agreement that violated federal law, and they wrote,
as part of the agreement, Acosta agreed, despite a federal law to the contrary, that the deal would be kept from the victims. As a result, the non-prosecution agreement was sealed until it was approved by the judge, thereby averting any chance that the girls or anyone else might show up in court and try to derail it.
I don't know how you explain this.
This is unreal. There's a fucking judge walking around right now who's like, oh yeah, I approved that. I signed off on that.
Right.
Virginia Roberts and the other victims, some who have been named, some who still go by aliases, really fought to keep Epstein in the courts in hopes that eventually that non-prosecution agreement would be overturned or he would be held accountable for some of his crimes. Then on July 16th, 2019, Epstein was arrested for sex trafficking charges by the New York branch of the FBI's Crimes Against Children Task Force at an airport in New Jersey as he was on his way coming back from his island.
Just stayed at the island, fucko.
Well, but at this point, do you blame him? I mean, he did his 18 months and literally did whatever he wanted. At this point, like, you have to be feeling untouchable, right? You do whatever you want. I mean, looking back, I agree. Yeah, you'd be fucking laying low the rest of your life on your island. But this guy got caught, in quotes, paid everybody off, did whatever, and had a luxurious little time with it. Yeah. So why would you not just keep going about your life? When you were in jail, you were going to New York. You were going to Florida. Right. So I don't know. It's just like that.
It makes sense.
In his mind, he owns the world.
Any normal person, if they dodged a life in prison bullet like that, would make at least a few substantial changes to their life and behavior to try not to be in that predicament. But like you said, he's invincible. He feels invincible and no one can touch him.
If I stole the Snickers bar from a gas station, I would not show up to that gas station for 5 years. Like, exactly. Sorry, that's just me. That's just me. 5 years at least. They would completely. I would make sure I had grown. I had aged. Maybe I would shave my beard off, and then I would go back to go steal a Kit Kat or a 12-pack of Miller Lite or a bottle of Boone's Farm, whatever.
They still have the VHS tape in the back. They bring it out. You stole that Snickers 5 years ago, fucko.
I walk in like fucking the feds come out, kicking down the beer cooler doors. Get down on the ground. You owe us 79 cents. I'm just saying, though. If I'm stealing a Snickers, I'm not coming back for a while. This guy's flaunting.
Smart. And normal. That's what the normal person would do.
That's why I haven't been caught for any of my crimes yet.
It's a great point.
I think probably the other thing with some of this, too, is that when was he released? What was that, 2010?
10, 11.
Well, we it was 09 because we were confused about the Casey Anthony thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was July or August of 2010. Or is that when his probation ended?
Maybe that's when his probation. Regardless, you're talking almost 10 years of still doing whatever the fuck you want. So he's
thought it was all behind him.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I'm going to find it. So you keep on going.
According to witnesses and sources on the day of his arrest, about a dozen FBI agents broke down the door of his Manhattan townhouse with search warrants. The search of his townhouse turned up evidence of sex trafficking and also found, quote, hundreds and perhaps thousands of sexually suggestive photographs of fully or partially nude females. Some of those photos were confirmed by law enforcement to be underage girls.
He was released from prison in July of 09. So this is literally 10 years later.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's just living his life, doing his thing.
Right.
In a locked safe, they found compact discs with handwritten labels, including, quote, young, redacted name plus redacted name, miscellaneous nudes 1, and girl pics nude. They also found in that safe $70,000 in cash, 48 diamonds, and that fraudulent Austrian passport that we talked about in part 1.
Cunty.
Mm-hmm. Diamonds. Like, what is this? Some kind of fucking like spy movie? Like, he just got cash and diamonds just hanging out.
That's if you gotta get out of the country real quick.
What were the names of the tapes or the stuff that they found in Michael Jackson's home?
There was one that was it was titled an all boy anthology.
Yeah. I'm so glad I finally watched Square One and it leveled my head out and I got the truth of the matter. Because we were so brainwashed during those 2 episodes. We didn't even know what we were talking about.
That's true.
I'm so glad I watched Square One. And I learned the truth of just about how terrible the justice system is. And they targeted Michael Jackson for no reason whatsoever. He never fucking diddled any little kids.
I agree. I didn't like the way that you guys badmouthed the King of Pop on that show, and I pushed back as much as I could, but then you guys threatened me, so I kind of went along for it, but yeah.
Pretty sure Dave got the most hate of any of us for those episodes with his little hee. Yep. I believe one of the comments was they didn't like that how Dave used a effeminate voice to portray Michael Jackson. Like no one's ever heard any of his fucking music before or heard him talk ever.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Like that's how he talked. I wasn't doing a bit. That's how the guy talked. You weren't making him sound
effeminate. You were literally doing an impression of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were called something over that. Something like
Probably a misogynist, like we're always called.
It was kind of along those lines,
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, like I wasn't doing a slur. I was doing his actual voice.
That's what he sounded
I
like.
resent the implication.
Yeah. that whole series took a massive turn when those Square One people found it.
Yeah, they didn't like that.
They were fired up.
Did not like it.
On July 8th, prosecutors with the Public Corruption Unit of the Southern District of New York charged Epstein with sex trafficking and conspiracy to traffic minors for sex. The grand jury indictment alleged that, quote, dozens of underage girls were brought into Epstein's mansions for sexual purposes.
Didn't change a thing. Not one thing.
Epstein requested to be released on bond, offering to post $100 million with the condition that he would also submit to a house arrest in his New York City mansion. U.S. District Judge Richard Berman denied the request on July 18th, saying that Epstein posed a danger to the public and a serious flight risk to avoid prosecution. I think that's that whole diamonds.
Yeah. And the fact that he owns an island.
In a fake passport.
Yeah.
Hey, good job, Richard Berman.
Yeah,
The Honorable
finally.
Richard Berman.
Finally, someone's shutting this fucker down.
Thank you. Good call, Pally.
On July 19th, 2019, Alex Acosta resigned from being Secretary of Labor, but not before leaving. He proposed that funding be cut from his department's International Labor Affairs Bureau from $68 million down to under $20 million. That agency fights against human trafficking, including child sex trafficking, child labor, forced labor. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, sounds about right.
On July 23rd, Epstein was found injured and semi-conscious at 1:30 a.m. on the floor of his cell with marks around his neck that were suspected to be the result of either a suicide attempt or an assault. His cellmate and former New York City police officer Nicholas Tartaglione, who was charged with 4 counts of murder, was questioned about Epstein's condition. He denied having any knowledge of what happened, and Epstein said that he couldn't remember anything.
Google that guy. That guy's terrifying looking.
No.
Holy shit.
He probably fucked Epstein up.
Oh my God. That guy's a monster.
I like how they're cellmates, and he's just like, yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Where the fuck are you going to be? Like, what?
That's a Bill Clinton.
I wasn't in the cell.
Yeah, depends on your definition of no. Is.
According to NBC News, 2 sources said that Epstein might have tried to hang himself. A third said the injuries were not serious and could have been staged. And a 4th source said that an assault by his cellmate had not been ruled out. Which that seems like the most likely of.
That's in 3rd place right now, but maybe. Yeah, what the fuck do you think happened?
When you're in a locked cell with one other person, you mean? Yeah, I don't know. If I'm playing the odds, that's my guess.
Don't know. Didn't hear a thing. Didn't hear a peep. I was just sitting in the corner, playing cards, playing solitaire. Next thing I know, you guys come busting in. He's laying on the floor.
Unconscious.
Yeah, I don't know. Shit.
Then on August 10th, 2019, Epstein was found dead in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York City at 6:30 a.m. And that is where we will pick back up on part 5.
Part 5? What?
It's only part 5? I would have swore we're at least on part 8.
In part 5, we'll go over the details of Epstein's death, the autopsy, the independent autopsy, the guy who did that independent autopsy, and then everything that's been going on with Ghislaine.
We'll get into why the guy who did the autopsy chose to get into the field of autopsy, why he decided to get into all of that, and his interests in life, his dating profile, and currently his where are they now? Sorry.
It's going to be a whole bonus episode on this guy, pretty much.
Well, so did Epstein actually kill himself? Because every meme I've seen in the past 18 months seems to suggest that he did not.
I
feel like that's a conversation for next week, is it not?
I think it is,
okay.
Yeah.
Also, I hope people don't think there's going to be a whole big debate because, we know as much as every fucking meme out there, which is nothing. And it's just people being people.
that's why I want to get into the guy that did the independent autopsy and who he was hired by, because he has a, even though he was in some really high level positions in life, he's not really the most reliable individual like everybody else in the story.
This whole story.
And then
wasn't that the same kind of thing with John Bonet? Wasn't there some kind of shit? Was it the autopsy, it was just the crime scene. I know the crime scene they fucked up. They moved her body, they covered her with a blanket, they did all that shit.
Yeah.
But wasn't like
they cleaned the house.
Yeah. You know. They had fucking people in and out of the house bringing donuts and probably pineapple and milk.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a question with the autopsy or no? Or was that the only legitimate part?
I know Werner Spitz, the guy who figured out that it was turtles that caused the mutilation on the genitals of the boys in West Memphis 3. He did an autopsy on John Bonet after, like, not, just looked at her bones and stuff. And he had some different opinions on, like, her head, what caused the injuries and stuff.
Oh, did we get into that in that series? I don't remember that part.
It was 4 parts, Mike.
I know.
That's you forget.
To this day, it's my favorite thing we've ever covered. That was the most interested I've ever been in a topic.
Good to know.
And then there's Egg Dick.
Yeah, he's breaking the record.
Somebody reminded us last week, I think we talked about, maybe it was a bonus show. Shit, I don't know. About episode or series topics that have went 4 parts. And we had said on air Scientology and John Bonet. We forgot to mention West Memphis 3. There have been 3 topics that have went 4 parts. There is now only one. The egg stands alone. The egg stands alone. Hi ho, in and out it goes. The egg stands alone.
Boy, risque.
I'm trying to find this thing on our Facebook group, or the Facebook group that's ran by fans. But I did a poll on there a couple of weeks ago, just out of curiosity of
how going ahead, fucking running independent polls there, Pally. Is there something we should be aware of?
I just wanted to know how many people in that group thought that that Epstein killed himself or was murdered. Very small amount of people thought that he actually killed himself. Overwhelming that he was murdered.
A lot of people think he's still alive too.
I have seen some of those.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait till next week because frankly, I don't fucking know the story.
And we'll wrap the whole thing up by covering his New Mexico ranch, because there's some really, really creepy, odd things went on out at that ranch.
That's weird. Doesn't fit in with the story at all.
some really odd stuff about his love of science that he was real into, like some genetic stuff to preserve him.
Oh God, this fucking guy.
When you have so much money, what else are you gonna do? How can I live longer? Right? Like, what else can you do?
If I remember correctly, I haven't looked into it in a long time, but it was like to move his genes or whatever into the future, like preserve something about himself into the future.
Yeah, we don't need any more of this guy. No. We need to wipe you off the fucking face of the earth and all your history.
Okay.
All right.
We got any other final thoughts on part 4? I know we kind of summed it all up just now, but anything that stands out to you guys about this episode?
I mean, that whole jail thing, like just being able to leave whenever you want.
It's shocking.
Get a whole wing to yourself.
Yeah. Actually, it's not shocking, but it's still.
I mean, it's just shocking to hear about, you hear about perks, but you don't, that's the most I've ever heard.
Yeah.
He wasn't in jail. He slept in a bed that was inside of a jail.
Yeah.
And that was it. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, what was it? His butler or whoever who had the black book did 18 hard months for having a fucking little notebook in his pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, the FBI tried to say that him withholding that hurt the case. And it's like, nothing could have hurt it.
That's what did it. It wasn't the fucking nudie photos lining the walls. It was that book that did it.
Right.
Yeah, the cops saw a nude photograph on a wall of one of the victims in the affidavit.
Right.
And he still didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to get in trouble for this.
I find the girl, Virginia Roberts, to be pretty credible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for her to not be.
Well, she tried to leave this life, right? And got sucked back in.
Yeah.
She escaped from it.
She wasn't looking for this.
Nothing to gain at all by any
was married, had her life, and went about it.
there was nothing positive to happen from her coming out about this stuff besides the courage or, standing up to it and speaking out about it for herself. But, of course she was going to get shit from all kind of people. When you're talking about Prince Andrew.
That's it.
I'm looking forward to part 5 to stop reading about human sex trafficking.
Yeah, I imagine so.
Every part of this, I just end up kind of hating society a little more.
Yeah, that's every day I'm alive.
All right, we got some patron shout outs. Got a decent amount. That's always promising. Thank you very much to Virginia De Lorenzo, Jason Rice, Jessica Ellison, Chill Valentine, Nick Thompson, Kara Doobie, Hybris69, Unkindness of Ravens 13, Lord maybe Jesus, Lord Jesus, Ashley Braxton, Ask Yo Girl About Me, Mark Serta, Zane Smith, Gabby Posada, Denise Wolf, Felicia Beneker, Robbie Mellinger, KMC Tattoo, Lindsay Martini, Kelly Wright, Toriles, Mac and Cheese, Seamus Craig, Sarah, Tyler Conley, Brandon Larson, Shayna Nelson, Emma L., Magelli Espinoza, Lindsay, Ariel Zapata, Stephen Pridey, Haley Hall, Chris Garcia, Carissa, April Easterday, Shannon Allen, Carrie Nasca, Michael Sursig, Lance Salmon. Is that how he asked us to say it? Salmon? Or is it Salman?
Oh, Salman.
Lance Salmon, Starla, Krista Luttrell, Alexander Busey, Monty Alva, Dina, Diego Batella, Mr. Panky the Blumpkin Poo.
Love that guy.
Little Shop of Burgers, Jordan Hadley Pasalacqua, Courtney Morgan, Samantha JJN, Brandy Cox, Yuritsa Matos, B. Sullivan, Elijah Williams, Michelle, Lee Collins, and Caleb Horton. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Patreon.com/Necronomipod. Ian, what do you have?
For iTunes, I have one for DM Bonifo, Kelly, Tapello Toddy, Ellie Rohana, Hepburn 84, Miss Homegrown, Andia, and one that looks like they hit their hand on a keyboard.
Love those.
Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
Dave, what do you got?
Let me think. No, I don't really have anything. I did used to like Bad Review Corner, but I think it encouraged people to give bad reviews, so I will not dignify the recent bad reviews with the mention.
I will just go on record to say that I think that some of the bad reviews recently make me think that it's people who just don't like our show. And then they get very frustrated with the fact that we have such good reviews and we are very highly ranked. And we're like 4.5, 4 9/10 of a star, or even 5 stars, and have all these great reviews. So to spite us, they make up these absurd, baseless claims and post it. And it makes them feel better about their sad, pathetic lives because we're successful human beings and they're not. And it makes them feel better. Because they don't get our show, and because I saw a review recently that was just absurd, things that we never say or do, but they just might not like it, but they get upset, so they want to try to hurt us, and Well,
that's right, because some of them say, I don't understand why it has all these good reviews.
That doesn't happen often, but when it does, I love when they say that.
Right.
That actually makes me feel better, because it's just like, yeah, good. Twist the knife a little more. Fuck you. People like this show. They like us. You don't like it? Oh, all right. Get fucked.
You think
asshole.
it makes them mad because they don't get it when everyone else does?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah, I really I love when people are like, I don't understand why this show is so popular. First of all, thank you for noticing. Second of all, get fucked. Because we're doing all right.
There you go.
Pretty good so far.
Kind of like that person that made a TikTok for our.
That's right.
They took
Took our name. Yeah.
Yeah, they made a TikTok under our name and they just put like the bio or whatever that. I don't like your podcast sucks or something
like that.
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And it's like the TikTok handle is Necronomipod, and the bio just says I hate your podcast or something. And I had so many questions because I was like, first of all, why do you choose to be the way that you are? Second of all, like, do you really hate us, or is it like a fan that's just like trying to like, you know, be like, you know, some fans like to think that they're funny when they joke with us because like they feel like they know us or whatever. Third, what part of Dave, Mike, and Ian ever made you think that you would see any of the three of us on a fucking talk tick? Like, why would we ever, like, what have we ever done to make people think that that's the social media that we're going after? That's what we want.
Maybe it was the YouTube videos you guys produced.
Yeah, maybe. Still not a TikTok, Dave. Like, first of all, we're not, you know, 13-year-olds.
That's why I imagine asking Alexandria fans frequent TikTok.
And then we're also not like the kind of people, because I don't mean to badmouth TikTok. It is what it is. It's its own platform that, you know, what have we ever done to be like, hey, we want to put ourselves on video doing crazy things. So to whoever owns that, go ahead.
Yeah, have at it. Post some good stuff.
Yeah.
Someone sent us that, right? That's how we found out.
Like a listener sent us a screenshot and was like, hey, just so you know, like, okay, well, they can have that one. Hope they're not trying to get us to like buy them out, because guess what? We're not interested. You go ahead. That's all you. That's all you. TikTok, Snapchat. We're not on any of that. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter at Necronomipod, Necronomipod.com, and Amazon.com. Search Necronomipod. You can find all of our merch. We have a few new items up there that are fucking badass. That Fucko shirt in the NWO style is awesome.
Yeah,
amazing.
I like that one.
What else? We just had something else posted. Which one was it? There was 2 shirts, weren't there?
Mr. Epstein.
Oh, the Epstein egg dick shirt. Hilarious shirt available right now. It doesn't say Epstein's name on it, so you're not gonna, you know, get in trouble for any of that.
Nope. J.E. Says J.E.
J.E. We know what it means.
Inside joke. We know.
Yeah. But he doesn't know. His estate doesn't know.
Somebody made a fuck ton of money off Epstein didn't kill himself shirts and stuff. When I was Googling stuff about Epstein, there was a bunch of pictures coming up. There was one guy that had like an ugly Christmas sweater, but in like
I've seen that.
In like Christmas lights that Epstein didn't kill him.
Like mixed in with the
Christ.
These wasn't it like these lights hung themselves, or these lights just like Epstein? These lights didn't hang themselves on a tree or something like that.
There's so many,
something like that. Yeah.
I think we just came up with our Necronomipod Christmas card. We take a photo with like fucking, you know, some kind of Epstein joke in there. Also, just want to give a quick shout out before we wrap up. Dave and I just did a guest spot on That Sexy podcast. Had a good time with them.
It was a great time.
Yeah. Read some old erotica, I guess, from some of the old porno mags.
Some anal stuff.
Yeah. We learned what the term assholein, which is fantastic. And we're going to use that all the time.
I was laughing at that.
Yeah. But anyways, thank you very much to Steven and Mercedes. They had us on and make sure you guys check them out, the That's Sexy ? podcast. Obviously, you don't spell out question mark. It is the punctuation, but look them up. Check it out. It's we had a really good time on that.
It's on YouTube, too.
It's on YouTube. You can see Dave and I's ugly faces.
Yeah, that was good.
Actually moving, not just in a photo. It's the only time you're going to see him, because we're obviously not going to have a TikTok. And then, Ian, you were just, and it hasn't been released yet, but you can probably give us the date. You just did a guest spot on the #History podcast.
Yeah, they had me on. Yeah, it's not out yet. It comes out on May 14th, I believe.
And we'll post it on the socials when it does drop. So
since it's not out yet, I won't spoil the topic. But
how intriguing!
My mind went to WWE pay-per-view from February of 1999.
Wow. So you mean when they invited you on to discuss Shawn Michaels tights from February of 1999, and then they pulled a fast one on you, you were misled?
Yeah.
Any rightfully thinking wrestling fan would know that by February of 1999, Shawn Michaels had retired, and they'd be like, Mike, you're a fucking idiot. We don't buy that joke. He retired in March 29th, 1998, after Stone Cold beat him at WrestleMania 14. I digress. Anyways, #History podcast coming out next week.
They were not aware of the WWE pay-per-view from 1999.
They're going to learn today. So anyways, check out our friends, the That Sexy podcast and the Hashtag History podcast. And thank you to them for having us on. We appreciate it. Just spreading the love out here.
Maybe they'll have us back.
Maybe so.
One day.
Well, it doesn't sound like Ian's going to be invited back after his wrestling comments. And who knows, maybe Steven and Mercedes will have us back. We'll see. Pretty sure they might just have Ian back because
that's who they really want.
Yeah, they don't want us. Yeah, we can get two fucking drunks anywhere. We want fucking Ian who can talk. I was
pretty loaded doing that show.
Well, cocaine is a hell of a drug.
That's not what I said.
I don't think I would be good on that show. Not funny.
No,
like you guys know.
I mean, we just read erotica. You do the paranormal erotica. You do a good job with that.
Yeah. That's true.
We would just make you read the erotica, and then we would just laugh and talk about it.
We talked about incest and
assholing,
ass eating, golden showers a little bit.
A lot of golden shower talk, actually.
Yeah. Because I suspect Steven from That Sexy would love to be peed on. So I told his wife she should definitely get in the shower and pee on him. So we'll see next time we check in with them if Steven's been peed on yet.
So next time we're on the That Sexy podcast when it's just Ian and I, because Dave's not welcome back.
Pee on him. Pee on him.
There's a new shirt. Anyway, so go check them out, and then we'll plug when the Hashtag History episode with Ian comes out. Make sure you guys are aware of that. So thank you very much. We'll see you next week on part 43 of Jeffrey Epstein.
You guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.